for the team today.
Okay.
We have a relatively short agenda, although we will be adding one item to the agenda that was posted. I'm going to exercise my prerogative as a chair because some additional information is available that we think will be of interest. So prior to the action item on public housing agency plan, we are going to have a discussion regarding lead paint. So that's a change to the agenda for today. The first item on the agenda, however, is approval of the minutes of our previous meeting, which was January 25th of 2021. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of January 25th, 2021?
So move.
Thank you, Commissioner Kroom. I will second it. Is there any discussion about the minutes as they have been presented to us? No? With no discussion, I will take a vote. All those in favor of accepting the minutes of January 25th, 2021, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous. The minutes are approved. So with that, we will then move to our agenda item that's being added regarding lead paint. And who is going to provide us information on that topic?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Renee Harris, and I am the program coordinator for the inspections department, and I'll be presenting the information for the lead-based paint.
Thank you. Please proceed.
May I share my screen?
Absolutely. Do I need to do something to allow that?
Can you see it?
Oh, yes, there it is. Great. Okay.
Again, good afternoon, Commissioners. Currently in our administrative plan, Chapter 8 has a reference to the lead-based paint, but it's not a detailed procedure. In an effort to make sure that we are fully compliant with HUD regulations, we would like to implement a procedure to be added to the admin plan as it relates to the lead-based paint certification. That plan, it would not be, we have a drafted policy, and you all would are more than welcome to have a copy of that. Actually, you will be provided a copy. And this is the memo that was drafted for that plan. In that plan, we would also like to make sure that we are doing our due diligence, making sure our landlords completely understand the lead-based paint certification process, not just giving them information to reference. And it would include, but not be limited to, the RFTAs being processed and the information on the RFTA, specifically questions 5 and questions 12C, be answered in its entirety as it relates to the lead-based paint certification. That question is when the unit was built, if it was built before 1978, and the owner or agent is required, or whether or not they're required to submit any additional documentation as it relates to lead-based paint certification.
Okay, so you're providing this information to us, and
yes,
what you would like then is for when this comes before the full commission, that the commission consider adding this to the administrative plan. Is that the request?
Yes, that is the request.
Okay. It certainly sounds like a good safety protocol to have in place. And so I think it would be very helpful to see the information that you're saying will be sent to us. Are you asking us to take any action today, or are you simply giving us a heads up that this is going to be being sent out to us and will be considered by the full commission.
Yes, I would like for it, it will be sent out as to be considered by the full commission. Because I'm asking that it be allowed to be an update to our current administrative plan.
Yeah, if there are commissioners, if there are issues or questions, obviously on either on the day of the commission meeting or even ahead of that, certainly ask and we'll provide responses. But this is lead paint has long been an issue for HUD. And it's also been a local issue sort of nationally, needing greater clarity and greater effort on the sort of agency's part on the ground. So.
Okay.
Stacy, I just want to ask one question. Well, not Stacy, Renee, does all the landlords get a copy of this? Are they getting a copy of what we getting a copy of?
The landlords the landlords receive the RFTA and they receive a lead-based paint certification form that is required to be filled out by them. But what we want to make sure is that a policy is in place not only for them, but for us internally, so that we're making sure we are checking everything and making sure this landlord is definitely in compliance.
Now, if their place was built in 1978, they would have to bring additional information to us.
They would be required to identify that their unit was built before 1978 and that they have abated any lead-based paint in the unit, like they have remedied that issue. We generally don't have too many units that are rented that were built before 1978 that are being rented, but we need something in place for just in case.
Thank you, Renee.
So I suppose we could consider a motion that the lead-based paint policy be formalized and taken to the full commission for consideration.
You can do that. You don't have to, Commissioner. It's really, we're giving you a heads up that we're taking it to the full commission and soliciting from you all feedback as soon as you get when you get the draft.
Okay. Since we don't have that draft, then it's probably best that we not make a motion, but other than to indicate support for formalizing this policy, which I think is an important safety concern. So I'm happy to see you proactively doing that, and certainly will read whatever you send us when we get it and look for it to come before the full commission.
Thank you, Commissioner.
You're welcome. With that, then we will move on to our pre-publicized agenda item, which is the Public Housing Agency Plan, which we are required to submit to the Department of Housing and Urban Development each year. And is there someone who would like to walk us through this information?
Yes, hello. Good afternoon, and thank you for having me. For the record, my name is Elliot Rule. I'm a management and compliance analyst with HOC's compliance department, and I'm here today to discuss the submission of HOC's fiscal year 2022 annual Public Housing Agency or PHA plan. So I'm going to go through our memo and then open it up for any questions. Our overall goal and objective today is to authorize the executive director or his designee to submit the fiscal year 2022 annual Public Housing Agency or PHA plan. In terms of background for this item, the annual PHA plan is a plan that informs the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD, residents and the public of HOC's mission for serving the needs of low-income and very low-income families and the agency's strategy for addressing those needs. HOC must submit 5-year plans discussing its housing choice voucher and public housing programs, and we also must submit annual PHA plans as yearly updates to the 5-year annual plan. The Quality Housing and Work Responsibility Act of 1998, or QARA, became law on October 21st, 1998. QARA, also known as the Public Housing Reform Law, created the PHA plan. This year, HOC is submitting its 22nd annual PHA plan, which will cover HOC's fiscal year 2022. Fiscal year 2022 begins on July 1st, 2021, and ends on June 30th, 2022. HOC's annual PHA plan provides details about immediate operations, program participants, and programs and services, as well as the agency's strategy for addressing the housing needs of Montgomery County residents in the upcoming fiscal year. HOC submitted its fifth five-year PHA plan for fiscal year 2020, which covers the period of 2020 through 2024. The five-year PHA plan describes HOC's mission as well as its long-range goals and objectives for achieving its mission over the 5 years discussed in the plan. Much of the last five-year PHA plan focused on HOC's use of the Rental Assistance Demonstration, or RAD program, to convert the agency's public housing portfolio to project-based rental assistance and project-based vouchers during the 5 years covered by the plan. HOC's fiscal year 2022 annual PHA plan is due to HUD 75 days before the beginning of the fiscal year covered in the plan. For HOC, that date is April 17th, 2021. The substantive changes to this year's fiscal year 2022 PHA plan from the annual PHA plan submitted last year are to the sections discussing HOC's use of the RAD program, updates to the Housing Choice Voucher Administrative Plan, and Housing Resources Division's Housing Choice Voucher project-based voucher activity. The fiscal year 2022 annual PHA plan submission will highlight the completion of HOC's conversion of public housing units to project-based rental assistance and project-based voucher subsidies under Section 8 through the use of RAD Component 1. The plan includes a detailed overview of the conversion of HOC's public housing units. As a result of the RAD conversion project, no public housing units remain in HOC's portfolio. Following the submission of this plan, the content described in the plan regarding public housing will cease in its applicability to the converted units. In place of the public housing policies for these converted units will be the RAD conversion policies, also detailed in this plan. The Housing Resources Division adopted 26 temporary COVID-19 waivers pursuant to HUD PIH notices 2020-05, 2020-13, and 2020-33. Through the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security, or CARES Act, HUD was given broad authority to waive statutes and regulations for the public housing and housing choice voucher programs. These waivers were intended to allow program participants and PHAs to participate in and operate these programs more efficiently during the COVID-19 crisis. The waivers required updates to 9 chapters in HOC's Housing Choice Voucher Administrative Plan. Housing Resources Division also implemented changes to Chapter 22 of the Housing Choice Voucher Administrative Plan, which affects HOC's Housing Choice Voucher project-based voucher program. Additionally, the fiscal year 2022 PHA plan highlights HOC's recent Housing Choice Voucher project-based voucher activity, as well as HOC's intent to project-base 100 units to private landlords throughout Montgomery County. Staff released a draft of the fiscal year 2022 PHA plan to the public on February 13th, 2021. Staff discussed the fiscal year 2022 PHA plan with the Resident Advisory Board on February 22nd, 2021. The Resident Advisory Board will then submit their letter of endorsement for the PHA plan, which will be submitted with the plan to HUD on or before April 17th, 2021. To date, HOC has received no public comments on the fiscal year 2022 annual PHA plan. A public hearing on the fiscal year 2022 PHA plan will be held on April 7th, 2021. Our issues for consideration: does the Legislative and Regulatory Committee wish to recommend the Housing Opportunities Commission of Montgomery County authorization for the Executive Director or his designee to submit the fiscal year 2022 annual PHA plan to HUD? The time frame for discussion by the Legislative and Regulatory Committee at its meeting today on March 15th, 2021, and for the Commission action on April 7th, 2021. And finally, staff recommendation and commission action needed. Staff recommends that the Legislative and Regulatory Committee recommend to the Housing Opportunities Commission of Montgomery County authorization for the Executive Director or his designee to submit the fiscal year 2022 annual PHA plan to HUD on or before April 17th, 2021. Does the committee have any questions regarding the packet material?
Thank you, Mr. Rule. I can say that having read through all of this content, the conversions and reconstructions that you all have systematically undertaken through the RADS program is part of the reason why so many of our residents are in new places as opposed to the older ones where there might have been lead paint concerns. So kudos on that. And I also understand that we're being held up as an example of excellent use of the RADS program on HUD's website itself. So congratulations on that as well. I had only a couple of questions which relate to the discussion on assistance transfer PV units, the sections page 11 through, I guess it's 13 were my questions. And this may just be cleaning up some verbiage in this, if that's an option prior to the meeting with the full commission. There's a lot of discussion about tenants who are moved and right to return to their properties when they're reconstructed. And then there's relocation of units to some different locations as well. And I was a bit confused, particularly on page 11 on the on-site PBRA units and replacement of RAD units, as to whether those were relocating people to newly constructed units on the same site or moving them to different sites. So if there's a way to clarify that even in the discussion, that might be helpful. And a similar situation on page 13, where there was the assistance transfer PV units, where you're discussing the number of RAD amp units from Seneca Ridge, Parkway Woods, Town Center, Washington Square, and then the Holly Hall, Waverly House, and Elizabeth House. And I know that we have been reconstructing Waverly House, Elizabeth House, and Holly Hall. And so it wasn't clear to me the extent to which that was moving people back into newly constructed units on those sites or to other sites, because we have had to take those units in some cases completely down and rebuilding them. So while I understand, while I don't have a problem with the plan overall, certainly the plan is very comprehensive in terms of its description of what's been going on. That one section I found slightly confusing. If there's a way to clarify any of that.
We'll certainly take a look at that.
Okay.
I understand there's a lot going on there.
Okay. Commissioner Kroom, do you have any questions?
No, Mr. Rule went to the RAB board and he told us that it is one thing I want to ask. Is the lead paint, is that going to be added to it, and have the RAB board seen that part that you added to this plan? Because I don't remember us discussing the
The
red.
lead paint's not, that's a separate issue. That's not part of the PHA plan.
Yeah, I mean, the lead paint is, we can take it to, I mean, they can certainly see it, but quite frankly, Commissioner, this is us taking an extra step to ensure that customers aren't harmed by lead paint. So there's, and we have, pardon me, we have a federal mandate to already do that. This is also ensuring, as related to lead paint, that we have an articulated process for managing it alongside the voucher process, right? So that it's stated, it's very clear. Landlords who are participating in our voucher program are aware of it, and then we as an agency have recourse.
Okay, and so he does. Well, perhaps if you can give them a letter or just
Sure,
give
no,
them
we'll
the
send
same
it.
thing. Yeah,
We'll send it
that we
for
get.
sure.
Okay.
Maybe that can go on a future agenda item for the Resident Advisory Board. With that, I would invite a motion that we, as a committee, recommend that the entire commission look at and consider this annual report to HUD.
So move.
Okay, I will second it. I will second a motion that the staff recommend that the Housing Opportunities Commission of Montgomery County authorize the executive director or his designee to submit an FY22 annual public health plan to HUD on or before April 17th of 2021. Any more discussion about submitting the plan? If not, I will ask for a vote. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous. So we, as a committee, will recommend that the full commission authorize the executive director to submit this plan.
Thank you.
Are there any other items to come before this committee today? If not, I will accept a motion that we adjourn.
So move.
And I second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the committee is adjourned. Thank you all very much.